When redesigning and updating the 1960s Enterprise for Star Trek the Motion Picture, Andrew Probert decided to add a feature spoken of in the classic television series but not seen in action. This was the emergency saucer separation, which would be a one-time event. The saucer section would not reattach itself to the engineering section once separated. The result of this emergency action would be a primary hull without warp engines capable of only sub-light travel, so if the Enterprise happened to be in deep space, the surviving crew would have to rely on the fusion reactors of the impulse drive for power and hope that Starfleet sent a rescue ship. If, on the other hand, the Enterprise was in a star system and there was a suitable planet close by, then the saucer would be able to land on the planet's surface. Probert gave the saucer 4 landing legs, each with a landing pad or foot, and these can be seen on the underside. There was also a landing ramp, which many place inside the upper section of the dorsal. This ramp would have to be extendable, like a telescope, given the storage space available and the distance to the ground. We can imagine how things would proceed. There is a catastrophic accident in main engineering. The emergency doors fall to seal off the affected compartment. But it's already too late. It is said 1 gram of antimatter reacting to 1 gram of matter would lead to an explosive yield equal to some 40 or more kilotons of TNT. The storage bottles of the Enterprise would, we might suppose, contain considerably more than 1 gram of each, being that the ship's warp engines used the energy created to propel the ship. Assuming the storage bottles cannot be ejected into space, then the engineering section of the Enterprise quickly becomes a very large bomb, rather like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. How long it would take to evacuate the engineering hull depends on how many people can fit into a turbolift, or how quickly they can climb a very long ladder, or get to a lifeboat. They are on our deck. The decision to separate would be a tough one if time was running out and there were still people in the secondary hull. The separation sequence would initiate. Presumably, a magnetic seal would disconnect the top of the vertical intermix chamber from the rest of the chamber. Possibly, an explosive bolt of some sort would fire, separating the saucer and even providing a degree of push. The impulse engines would engage and the saucer would hurry away, desperate to reach a minimum safe distance. If there was anyone still aboard the abandoned engineering hull, the end would be very quick. The saucer might then land on a nearby planet. Its landing legs would extend and it would come to rest. The survivors would have power and the phaser banks would keep them relatively safe from any large-scale threat until a rescue ship arrived. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on one's preference, no such saucer separation happened to the Refit Enterprise. It would have been very expensive to add an emergency separation to one of the first 6 Star Trek feature films. Indeed, the main reason why the procedure became rare in the Next Generation was down to cost.